Good evening and welcome to Rock Center on this Friday night. Our first report comes right off the debate over gun control and gun rights. Specifically tonight, our first story has to do with orders of protection meant to shield victims of domestic violence. Often they're not enough, so one police department believes it has developed a tactic that helps diffuse the very worst of the violence. But this solution brings us right back to the gun debate, as you'll see in our first report tonight from Harry Smith.
We can't leave you alone for 5
It's hard to imagine now, but just a year and a half ago, Stephanie Holton was scared to death. Recently divorced, her ex-husband had threatened to shoot her. She thought a protection order against him would keep her and her 2 children safe.
He said to my face he would come over to my house and put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger, that he would blow my head off.
But they were not safe at all. Her ex had a gun. 9 hours after police served him with a protection order, he showed up at Holton's door, armed.
He's got a gun pointed at me, and he's walking toward me, and I dare not move. And he starts yelling at me, I was served a protection order today, and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot you. And I remember trembling, and I remember looking at him, and I remember seeing such hate and such anger in his face, in his voice. And I also see this weapon that is now right up against my coat. I'm on my knees next to my living room couch. And he is standing over me, and I am looking at this gun barrel, and I don't know where my children are.
Her children were outside. When her ex-husband looked away to call to them, Holton reached for her cell phone.
So the minute he turns his head, I pulled it out, unlocked the pad, watching him, put it right next to my couch.
And you have the presence of mind to dial 911?
Yes, I do. And praying that it made that connection to 911, that the operator can hear me, and that we have an active line.
911, what are you reporting?
Why, Stephanie? What do you want from me? Don't do this.
He was going to take my children and shoot me. I was saying the Lord's Prayer on my knees.
It seemed like an eternity, but minutes later, Holton's prayers were answered when the Spokane police arrived at her home.
I hear Spokane Police Department. Let me see your hands.
What goes through your brain?
Oh my God, they got the call. They got the call. I'm alive.
Stephanie Holton was lucky, but many women are not. These are the faces of women who were killed by guns, even though they were granted a protection order.
Here's the problem. While federal statutes require most of those served with protection orders to give up their weapons, it's a law that's rarely enforced. And according to a New York Times investigation, only 7 states, just 7 states, have laws that match the federal law. And in those states, the law is rarely enforced, rendering protection orders worth little more than the paper they're written on.
This is about taking guns out of the hands of people who are already deemed legally unsafe to have them.
Kelly Starr works for the Washington State Coalition Against Domestic Violence. She has studied domestic violence homicide for 16 years.
What we know is that domestic violence victims are 5 times more likely to be killed if there's a gun around.
5 times?
5 times. When there's a gun around is when we see domestic violence turn to murder.
And that's the reason Starr and other domestic violence prevention advocates want to see when protection orders are served, guns are taken away.
The murder rate has gone down in this country. Has it gone down as far as you can see in terms of domestic violence?
It's actually one of the few violent crimes that has not over the last 20 years. And it makes you question, where are the gaps in holding abusers accountable? Where are the gaps in providing options for victims to be safe? Because other kinds of violent crime are going down and this is not.
The NRA and other gun rights groups strongly oppose local laws which require those served with protection orders to give up their guns, saying proposed laws ignore due process, arguing it's a punishment without prosecution. The NRA declined our request for an interview.
What all is in here?
We have shotguns, rifles, pretty much any kind of gun you can imagine.
California is one of the 7 states that has very strict laws when it comes to guns and protection orders. It requires gun owners to give them up, but few do.
Today, we got 2 things on our plate.
So in San Mateo County, Deputy Sheriff John Kovach's job is to collect those weapons. His job requires a lot of legwork.
The pit bull's friendly, so don't worry about that.
Good communication.
How many guns does he have in his bedroom there?
3.
Can you tell me what kind of guns they are?
And patience.
Are they long guns?
Arletta Colima has MS. She and her mother worry Arletta's estranged husband is determined to do them harm.
If you know the police go and get the guns away from your daughter's husband, do you feel safer?
In the moment, yes.
In the moment.
Individual handguns.
Last year, Kovach's department brought in 324 guns, and they say they have not had a single firearm-related domestic violence homicide in 3 years.
I've worked in a lot of different areas of law enforcement. They're all satisfying, but nothing like this. I'm Detective Kovach.
Kovach's work reaches from the poorest neighborhoods to the most prosperous. Domestic violence knows no demographic boundaries. We watch Kovach and his partner, Bridget Hensley, deliver a protection order.
I'm here to serve you with the restraining order, confiscate any firearms that you may have.
Most police departments don't have the manpower to do this. It is rarely as simple as showing up and taking a gun away.
So, you gave these guns to your brother-in-law?
Kovach and Hensley wouldn't be here if not for a special financial grant from the federal government, which pays for them to track down guns one by one.
He's just been served, so now the clock is ticking. How's he going to react to it? Where's that firearm?
It will take time, but they will find and confiscate the gun.
You feel like it makes a difference?
I know it does. I mean, I believe in my heart it does. Not only for the people that are taking out the restraining orders, but law enforcement a lot of times will have continuous contact with domestic violence incidents. So, I mean, we may be saving the lives of officers by taking these guns off the streets.
Stephanie Holton's ex-husband was sent to prison for attempted assault, but she is still afraid of the day he is released.
I'm very afraid of what will happen or what could happen. One of the things that he said to me that night that keeps me awake at night is that if he is arrested, he will come back.
Harry Smith reporting tonight on this intersection of the law and gun laws and protection of women.